Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy to see everybody here. We're happy to have with us this charming young lady. Her first name is Kara, K-A-R-A. And Kara, I apologize. I can't remember what you said your last name was.
Bellin. Bellin. B-E-L-L.
B-E-L-L-O-E-N-S, I think. But now, what interests me about that, it should be on. It's on now. I guess my arm must have hit I had it on before. But we're real happy to have her with us. She told me that she liked to sing. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I heard a beautiful voice, and I stopped to listen. I helped but listen to you singing, but you do have a tremendous voice, and I do appreciate that. Nancy, get a hold of her for a Christmas program. But we're real happy to have Kara with us today. By the way, she told me she's up around from the north, up around Moundsville. She is West Virginia. And I said that basically because I'm Pennsylvania and we're almost West Virginia. So, they say West Virginia is almost heaven. You go across the Mason-Dixon line and you are in heaven. They all got it. I tease them all the time. We have been looking at the idea of worship. I mentioned the fact that there has been several times I've had opportunity of counseling other preachers as far as worship is concerned. One of the preachers that you would know, well, two of the preachers you would know, but one of the preachers that called me about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And he has people that will start conversations right in the middle of a prayer. And they have no concept of be still and know that I'm God. So I have counseled him and I've given him several sermons to preach. And he tells me, he says, not doing a bit of good. They still go on their ways, not paying any particular attention to what's going on in worship. And yesterday, I had another phone call. Ruth was still in bed and Steve was working. And I was sitting down working on making some grades on my sermon. And Phil, you have time to talk? I said, sure I do. And it was not the preacher, but one of the leaders of the church was talking to me. He said, how do you instill in people's mind that when they're in the church service that they're there to worship God? And evidently this is becoming a incident in many congregations as far as the idea of worshiping. What do we mean by worship? What is the attitude of worship? We talked a little bit about this where at the well Jesus said that God is a spirit and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. We talked about Hebrews, the 11th chapter, that without faith it is impossible to please God. And we have to come to God in faith, believing certain things that the Bible teaches us that is really contrary to what the modern day thinking is. I personally believe that when you look to Isiah, the 6th chapter, sure, it's Old Testament. Sure, it's dealing with the Old Testament concept of worship as under the Mosaic law. But Isaiah, the 6th chapter, deals with a lot of thoughts that I think we can apply to our Christian life, our Christian living. It comes in after 5 chapters, and a lot of people wonder, and I remember asking the professor of Old Testament prophecy at Kentucky Christian College when I went there, as to why this came in the 6th chapter, not the 1st chapter. And he had no answer. What I'm giving you now is an opinion. And I want you to understand that it's an opinion. I really don't know why it is in the 6th chapter, not the 1st chapter. But I do know that there were many, many prophets of God during the time of the Old Testament reign of Mosaic law. In fact, if you recall when I think it was Elijah went out to build a school of prophets along the Jordan River, and yet the axe fell on the river, and they caused the axe to float. They were building a school for the prophets. I do know there were other prophets, and I personally feel that up in the first few chapters of the book of Isaiah deal with Isaiah was being a prophet of God, but not the prophet of God. In the 6th chapter is where he was elevated from being a prophet of God to being the leader of the prophet of God. And because after that he goes into the messianic prophecies and deals with a great deal of more. Now that's an opinion. But I feel that this particular call that Isaiah had was one of great joy. It was more or less like a promotion, graduation into being the principal prophet that God had. If you look at my notes, you'll find that Isaiah prophesied from about 745 to 695, and you go backwards because it's before Christ. And he prophesied during the reigns of Isiah. I have them listed here if I can find them. Isiah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. And he also was a prophet during the time of Manasseh. And it was Manasseh who had Isaiah killed. And it was because, and we talked about this last week a little bit, according to a tradition, it's written in the Talmud, that Isaiah was placed between 2 planks of wood, and then while he was still alive was sawn asunder, chopped up into little pieces, and fed to the ravens. Probably Hebrews 11:37 deal with that. But we need to really, really think about this call that Isaiah had. And I want us to relate this thinking to our relationship to God and through Jesus Christ, our Lord. And if you have your Bibles, or if you have your notes before you that I have given you, I want you to follow me as we read certain things here. The very first thing you will see is the third room of God. And in the third room of God is a beautiful picture. Isaiah, the 6th chapter, the first 4 verses. In the year that King Isiah died. And there are some scholars, sometimes I can't follow their thinking on this, but they feel that Isiah was a relative of Isaiah. But in the year that King Isiah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above us stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face. With twain he covered his feet. And with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried. And the house was filled with smoke. Several things that I want to call attention to. First of all, you will find scripture that says that no man has seen God at any time. And here, and later on, we will find that Isaiah said, I have seen the Lord of hosts, the King of kings. And tradition tells us that it was this accusation that Isaiah was blaspheming when he said he saw the King, the Lord of hosts, that caused him to be put to death. I don't know. I feel that when you look at this particular vision of the throne room of God, you look at the book of Revelation, and see in the 4th and 5th chapters of the book of Revelation, the throne room of God. And there are other passages in the Old Testament as well as in the New And there's not one contradiction as far as the throne room itself is concerned. And the question on my mind was, this merely a vision? Or was it actually a scene of the throne of God? I think it was nothing more than a vision. Because the passage of Scripture says, no man has seen God at any time. And the seraphims interest me. The seraphims. The idea of seraph in the Hebrew is fire. These were fiery beings that moved about in the throne room of God and praised to the power of God, the almighty person of God. They cried out, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. They emphasized that the whole earth was filled with His glory. The heavens declared, the psalmist said, the heavens declared the glory of God, and the firmament showed forth His handiwork. I'm one that cannot in any way accept any concept of evolution. You know that. For the simple reason I think evolution is a farce. It falls far short of what actually happened. God in His majesty spoke the word, and it was. Wow. I think of that and I just chills go up and down my back of the mighty power of God, the mighty majesty of God. And here was Isaiah, poor little Isaiah, called into that mighty throne room to see such a great and glorious vision. The majesty. The shaking of the doors of the voice of the one that was crying out praise to Almighty God. How would you feel? How would you feel? I cannot even begin to imagine how I would feel if I were to have similar vision. And the next part of our vision that we see is beginning the 5th to the 7th verse. Then I said, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thy iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. I think if I were in there, I would maybe feel even a lot of worse than what Isaiah did. Woe is me, for I am undone. Undone. I think that's a good term. Everything he was, from his knees to his arms and everything else. Nancy was talking about her knee giving way. I think it was with Isaiah when he was there. It was more than his knees. It was more than his knees. I want you to think just for a moment. Not only was he undone because he was a man of unclean lips, but he came from a people of unclean lips. Wow. Then the cleansing. One of the seraphims took tongs and lifted a coal off the altar that was there, and came and laid it on the lips of Isaiah. You know, as Christians, we have been made clean, not from a coal of an altar, but by the blood of Jesus Christ. And through that blood of Jesus Christ, which came upon us at the time that we accepted Jesus Christ and was baptized, we have become clean. We become as a little child, innocent, until we sin. And as being made clean and purged from our sin, we need to hear and obey the call of God, as God calls us. And we are experiencing, when we come together, even if we are small, we're experiencing one of the greatest blessings that God can give to us, because we are in His presence. He's in our hearts. He's in our lives. He's in our fellowship. And we give to God the glory for all things that He has done. In the 8th verse of this particular chapter, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?" Then said I, "Here am I. Send me." Here am I, send me. I'll be honest with you, I never wanted to be a preacher. Some of you say, "Well, I'm thinking as I'm preaching this particular sermon," well, you never were. But I feel a privilege. I feel an honor to be able to speak with respect of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I attended many, as I was growing up, many times, camp programs and church programs for the young people. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a doctor of veterinary medicine. I was already accepted in Penn State only because I knew the Alumni Association president of Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. My grades were not good enough, I'll be honest with you. I decided to go to Kentucky Christian College, and I went for 2 years, was what my plans were. And while I was there, I felt the need to start to preach. And that's where I stayed. I thought every minute of the way I didn't want to be a preacher. I had one cousin who was a preacher. I had another cousin who was a preacher's wife. I knew what they were going through. But I didn't want to be a preacher. And I heard the call. There's a message to be delivered. Who will bear that message for me? And I will say that I can remember the time that I stood before the Lord in prayer. And I told God I'll do whatever He wants me to do. That's why I became a preacher. There was a willingness from Isiah to go. It was a quick response. "Here am I, send me, send me." I remember years ago, my first full-time ministry was in Greenford, Ohio, up around Moundsville, up around Youngstown, to be honest with you. And I can remember telling those people one time that there were people out in the world that were not Christians and only they could reach. There was nothing I could do, nothing anyone else could do, but they were the only ones. Several years ago, in fact, Steve, I would imagine about 25, 30 years ago, we took a trip. We went up through that part of Ohio, on out to Niagara Falls, and we decided that we were going to stop and visit the church in Greenford. Or they had grown. When I went there, there was only about 25, 30 in the church. But now they were one of the mega churches in that part of Ohio. They were about 1,000, 1,200 people. They had built onto their sanctuary to the point that to make 3 of these. But I remember one young man who just married and had a young child when I was there. He came to me and says, Phil, he said, I want to apologize to you. And I said, well, why is that wrong? He said, because I remember you making that statement. I disagreed with you. You made me mad. He says, but I have seen it work down through the years that you are 100% right. Do you realize, and I firmly believe this with all my heart, that you're the only person that might be able to reach a soul for Christ? There might be one that God has laid on your heart. And God is saying, you go and carry the message to that person. You need to cry out, here am I, send me. And I got a big charge out of Isiah. God, how long do you want me to do this? I'm not going to read the rest of the chapter. I want you to do it. But basically what the Bible is saying that God told Isaiah was very simple. You do this until there's nobody left to preach to. Warning that it was going to fall on deaf ears. They're not going to understand. And no one will respond. You do this until there's no one left. But God wanted to warn them of what happened. And I can think of several scriptures in the New Testament when Jesus is telling the parable, if it were a parable, of the rich man of Lazarus. Abraham told Lazarus, he says, the people will not believe even though one person would rise from the dead. There's people with deaf ears out there that will not hear the gospel. I think we need to realize that our responsibility is to sound the warning. And when we sound the warning, it's the other person's responsibility to accept and then follow. Last week I quoted the first verse of the hymn, The Voice of Jesus Calling. I'm going to do that again tonight, this morning. Hark the voice of Jesus calling. Who will go and work today? Fields are white and harvest ready. Who will bear the sheaves away? Loud and long the Master calls. Rich rewards he offers free. Who will gladly say, here am I, send me, send me. When you go through those doors, and when you go to your home, you're entering your mission. May God use you to bring souls to Christ. We're going to be singing our song of invitation. Just as I am.
No, softly and tenderly. Softly and tenderly,
first verse on. If there's anyone here that needs to accept Christ, believing, repenting, confessing, being baptized in Christ, we invite you to come as we stand.